Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The FBI investigation into the Orlando shooting massacre that left 49 people dead and an LGBTQ club has taken an unexpected twist after evidence emerged the gunman was a regular patron of the club. On Monday morning, FBI Director James Comey said the shooter, Omar Mateen, was likely radicalized online, but that no evidence has emerged he received outside help in the attack. Comey said the FBI first interviewed Mateen in 2013 after co-workers said he made inflammatory and contradictory remarks about terrorism.
We then interviewed him twice. He admitted making the statements that his co-workers reported, but explained that he did it in anger because he thought his co-workers were discriminating against him and teasing him because he was Muslim. After 10 months of investigation, we closed the preliminary investigation.
During a phone call to police on Sunday morning, Mateen expressed support for the self-proclaimed Islamic State, but Comey said at other times he also expressed solidarity with groups fighting against ISIS, including Hezbollah and the al-Nusra Front. Witnesses who were trapped in the club's bathroom with Mateen during the attack said he also spoke about a need to stop the U.S. bombing in Syria. The FBI has begun investigating multiple claims that Mateen might have been gay himself and frequented the Pulse nightclub. The claims have come from numerous people, including his ex-wife, a former high school classmate, and several club patrons. Meanwhile, solidarity vigils have been held across the country and around the world for the 49 victims of the attack, most of whom were young and Latino. We'll have more on the massacre after headlines. Presumptive presidential nominee Donald Trump has cited the Orlando attack to call for banning all immigrants from any country with a history of terrorism against the U.S. or its allies. Trump said the shooter was, quote, born an Afghan of Afghan parents, even though Mateen was born in New York and is a U.S. citizen.
When I'm elected, I will suspend immigration from areas of the world where there is a proven history of terrorism against the United States, Europe, or our allies, until we fully understand how to end these threats. We cannot continue to allow thousands upon thousands of people to pour into our country, many of whom have the same thought process as this savage killer.
Donald Trump has banned the Washington Post from covering his events, accusing the paper of, quote, incredibly inaccurate coverage. Washington Post editor Marty Baron called the move nothing less than a repudiation of the role of a free and independent press. Trump has also banned BuzzFeed, The Huffington Post, The Daily Beast, The Des Moines Register, The Union Leader, Univision, and Fusion. In objecting to the Washington Post coverage, Trump had pointed in particular to an online Post headline that read, quote, Donald Trump suggests President Obama was involved with Orlando shooting. The newspaper changed the headline, but said the change was made independent of Trump's complaint. The current version reads, quote, Donald Trump seems to connect President Obama to Orlando shooting. The article refers to remarks Trump made about Obama on Fox and Friends Monday.
He doesn't get it, or he gets it better than anybody understands. It's one or the other, and either one is unacceptable.
The 49 people killed in the Orlando massacre have all been identified. Among those now confirmed killed is Christopher LEINONEN, whose mother, Christine, gave an emotional interview to ABC News Sunday as she was still waiting to hear news about her son.
I just wanted to say, though, that this is a club that nobody wants to be in. And please, could we do something with the assault weapons so that we could stop this club from ever getting any new members? I beg all of you, please.
Christine Leinonen's son, Christopher, was 32 years old. On Capitol Hill, Democratic lawmakers erupted in protest inaction by Republican leaders on gun control. Some left the chamber as House Speaker Paul Ryan held a moment of silence to honor the Orlando victims. South Carolina Congressmember Jim Clyburn took to the floor to ask Ryan when the House would consider gun control legislation. But Ryan shut him down on procedural grounds.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I am really concerned that we have just today had a moment of silence, and later this week, the 17th.
Is the gentleman stating a parliamentary inquiry?
Yes. Mr. Speaker, I am particularly interested about 3 pieces of legislation that have been filed in response.
The gentleman's not sitting a parliamentary inquiry. The gentleman is not sitting a parliamentary inquiry. The clerk will report the title of the bill.
In New Mexico, the victims of another mass shooting have been identified. Cynthia Villegas and her 4 daughters, Yamilan, Cynthia, Yaneth, Abby, and Ida, were murdered over the weekend in North Roswell. Villegas' husband, Juan David Villegas, is charged with the murders. We'll have more on the connection between mass shootings and domestic violence later in the broadcast. In Santa Ana, California, a transgender woman has been shot and injured. Authorities said the woman stumbled to a gas station Friday after being shot. Meanwhile, another LGBT victim was discovered dead in a burned-out car last Sunday. The victim's family identified Devin Diamond as a gay man, and news reports referred to Diamond using male pronouns. But in the New Orleans Advocate, a friend described Diamond as a woman in the midst of a gender transition. In France, ISIS has claimed responsibility for the fatal stabbing of a French police commander outside Paris. The attacker, identified as Larosia Abaya, then held the commander's partner and the couple's 3-year-old son hostage, eventually killing the partner, who worked as an administrative police official. Police stormed the house and killed the attacker. French President François Hollande called the killing, quote, uncontestably a terrorist act. In southeastern Turkey, a Syrian journalist has been shot but survived, marking the 2nd attempt on his life in 3 months. An ISIS news agency said the militant group carried out the shooting against Abd al-Qadir, founder of the exiled Syrian news outlet Eye on the Homeland. In Yemen, a U.S. drone strike has killed 3 people identified by Yemeni officials as alleged al-Qaeda fighters. The victims were driving in a vehicle around the town of Haban. Sunday's strike came after another U.S. drone attack killed 2 other people alleged to be al-Qaeda members in Yemen's Marib province on Saturday. A small rodent from Australia has become the first known mammal to go extinct due to human-caused climate change. In a new report, scientists said they searched extensively for any trace of the rat-like rodent known as the Bramble K. melomys, whose only known habitat was a tiny island off the coast of Australia. Researchers said the root cause of its extinction was sea level rise from climate change. In another climate milestone, a study projects levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere will smash the threshold of 400 parts per million this year and not fall below it again in our lifetimes. The 400 parts per million threshold has been an important marker in UN climate negotiations, widely recognized as a dangerous level that could drastically worsen global warming. The environmentalist group 350.org takes its name after the 350 parts per million threshold that scientists say is the maximum atmospheric concentration of carbon dioxide set for a safe planet. Microsoft has announced it's buying the digital networking platform LinkedIn for $26.2 billion. The deal marks the largest in Microsoft's history and one of the largest in the history of the tech industry. And in California, a juror has written to Judge Aaron Persky to say he is, quote, absolutely shocked and appalled, unquote, by the 6-month sentence he gave to the former Stanford swimmer who raped an unconscious woman. Brock Allen Turner was found guilty of 3 felony counts of sexual assault after 2 witnesses caught him on top of the woman last year. But Judge Persky sentenced him to only 6 months in county jail, which will likely be reduced to 3 months under good behavior, saying a longer term could have a serious impact on him. In a letter published by Palo Alto Weekly, the juror writes, quote, we were unanimous in our finding of the defendant's guilt, and our verdicts were marginalized based on your own personal opinion, unquote. A letter written by Turner's victim has gone viral, drawing praise from prominent figures, including Vice President Joe Biden, who wrote to her in an open letter, quote, I do not know your name, but I will never forget you, Vice President Biden wrote. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.